Gonna wait for some folks to join us, and I will get started here shortly. I appreciate people joining me tonight. This is a live stream. I understand it's a busy evening, and so I won't keep folks long. Evidently, on YouTube, I'm supposed to do things like juggle and point all over the place and go from camera angle, all to entice people to watch longer, to watch more frequently, or what have you. Here's the bottom line, folks: is I'm just a baseball coach. Some will tell me that I am the old man on the lawn telling kids to get off my lawn. But in reality, I am nothing more than a 40-year baseball coach, soon to be 62 years old. My first high school head coaching job was when I was 22 years of age at my alma mater, Fitchburg High School. That is a fact. I have been around the game for a very long time. And my hope when I started doing this several years ago was to encourage younger athletes to get involved with baseball, to help parents understand the progression from the youth baseball through high school and obviously into college and beyond. But it's turned into more than that. I'm going to really be kicking things off tonight by letting people know two things. One, I've turned this into a career. I've made some sacrifices. I don't go out. I'm not shilling shirts. I don't, try to sell people anything. I get some comments in my Twitter feed and my X feed, whatever we're calling it, and about hyping. I have never hyped anything for people. I've written books over here, there. I've written some books. I do some YouTube videos. I try to create content for parents to get information. The more information you have as parents and obviously as student athletes, the better prepared you can possibly be to chase your dream, to have more fun playing the sport, to get more out of the sport. And my philosophy as a dad for my two sons was always to try and trade our athletic ability for academic excellence. And so again, I'll put my glasses on. Eugene, how are you, Captain? Watching LSU North Dakota State, great game. I hope you're watching live. I tried to watch college baseball all weekend, but I'm going to tell you something that really kind of hit me in the ribs. It was like a fastball right to the ribs this weekend. And I want to make sure parents understand specifically, I am not here to try to, alienate, agitate, aggravate people. I'm not here to try to say they're evil and I'm good and all this stuff. I'm trying to bring awareness to parents. And here's two things. One, this weekend, perfect game. There was a video that came out on X. And the young man that was on the video, I've known. He knows my oldest son. They played college baseball together. Great young man. And I know that he works for Perfect Game. But the topic of the video was metrics. Perfect Game is now offering analytics / metrics for 9 through 12-year-olds. On the surface, I get it. Maybe you're going to use that as a foundation. Maybe we want to kind of get some baseline and then be able to make progressions off of our baseline. That would be great if that was it. But then later on today, a follower and somebody that I follow, X by the name of BP Thrower, I'll put that up here on my video, put out something today that really, it kind of coincided with that video that I saw from PG, but it had to do with 9U in the road to 70 miles an hour. And I have to tell you, this is something that's near and dear to my heart. And it's something that I really want parents and younger athletes to gain some understanding. And so I'm not here to try to tell you that your son shouldn't be competitive. I'm not here to tell you that your 8 through 10-year-old shouldn't throw hard. That's up to the gifts from the big guy, the blessings of your genes as parents, in their athleticism, their skill set, their body size, etc. But I am here to tell you and to discuss the dangers of chasing metrics at young ages. It is a really big issue that is something that we even need to address and discuss. It's one thing for us to want to talk about travel teams, the importance, the need. I have parents that blow up my DMs over the weekend. Let me just clear something up. My feelings for travel baseball have nothing to do with the individual owners, has nothing to do with the business models that they've created. It has to do with using words like elite and competitive and all of these words that how many 9-year-olds are really elite? How many 8-year-olds are super competitive? If you're the parent of a super competitive 8-year-old, that's fantastic. But we shouldn't be asking 8, 9, 10-year-olds, A, to be as skilled, or B, to be as intense as college or high school or professional athletes. You need to step that back and throttle that back. The weight of expectations that we are creating for young athletes is very, very heavy. And it leads to two things. One, injuries. Two, burnout. And on the topic of burnout, I want to let parents know a factual numbers that have been around for decades and continue to be around to this day. And I'm going to start right here. Number one, between the ages of 6 to 12 years of age, there will be anywhere between 2 and 3 million participants within youth baseball, travel baseball, little league baseball, rec baseball, Dixie baseball, etc. There will be between 2 and 3 million baseball participants. From the ages of 13 to 14, most of those athletes will try 1 year. And then the fall off in the cliff occurs not because they weren't talented enough, not because they didn't have certain physical attributes or skill set, because they simply did not enjoy the sport enough. The next part of that is when the fields get bigger, the distances, the bases, the pitching mounds, the fences for home runs, etc. Athletes become very discouraged. Why? Because they're physically not able to play the sport at the same capacity that they were as 6 through 12-year-olds when the fields were either 45-60 or 50-70. When you go to 60-90, it's a whole new world. But again, the numbers tell us we go from 2 to 3 million participants down to less than half. Approximately 1 million athletes will try between 13 and 15. And when we get to high school, that number again is cut in half down to approximately 500,000. From 2 to 3 million, the natural erosion, the natural kind of parting of the ways between young athletes that want to try baseball to those who actually want to play it at a higher level competitively goes from 2 to 3 million to 500,000. And of that, participants from the varsity perspective, we're talking about several 100,000. And then to college, we're talking about 50,000. So what are we doing as adults when we look at perfect game? And parents, you are intimidated. Parents, you are excited when you see the numbers on and you see the foot speed and you see the exit velocity and you see the pitching velocity. But has anybody asked the 9 through 12-year-olds how they feel? We're trying to ask them to do something that they're physically not capable of. And if they don't match up to their friends, are you going to be disappointed, mom or dad? Are you disappointed in me, coach? 9U, the road to 70. Now, 70 miles an hour at 45 or 50 feet has always been thought to be the equivalent of 90 miles an hour. That really great elite fastball. And we have people. Hello, Timmy. Hello, Hawaiian Hammer. Thank you for watching. Share the channel. But what I want to be able to talk to parents about today is when we start to think about the road to 70, what is that? What are we trying to do? Are we asking our children? Is that what they're physically wanting to work towards? Is that something? Do you know the dangers of chasing these numbers and these metrics? Our children are still growing. Their growth plates, their ligaments, their tendons, muscles, they are in growth mode. And we need to understand we do not want to chase numbers. We want to learn the game. We want to learn the nuances of the game. Instead of worrying about chasing the road to 70 miles an hour, how about chasing the road to learning how to play competitive catch? Now, I want to tell you something. When I sit around with people and I talk about when I was a kid, I get it, dinosaurs were roaming the earth, but guess what? We would play games, organized little league games for 8 and 9-year-old, bee farm games, we used to call it. And the scores would be 3-2. And we could field ground balls and throw balls accurately to bases. And we could catch pop-ups. In today's world, do we really want to focus our priority of our time with perfect game and other silly metrics? And do we want to spend dollars with instructors or coaches, I don't even know what we call them, that want to give us a roadmap to 70 miles an hour for a 9-year-old athlete? Can I play catch? Can I throw accurately? Do I know how to use my legs? Do I know how to use the ground? Do I know how to catch and throw and transfer the ball? Do I know how to field the ball? Can I catch fly balls on the run? What is the hurry and why are we asking? If that was a real post from a 9U program, it's really, we have literally jumped the sharks. We have literally jumped the sharks. I get it as parents. I get the appeal. But do you know how many kids at the younger ages have had strong arms, and then the laws of physical growth catch up, and all of the athletes mature at different times, and the boys that threw hard when they were younger, suddenly they don't throw as hard anymore. And I think it's time as parents for us to really take a step back and to understand, look at all the arm injuries, look at all of the studies that have been done for Major League Baseball. And it comes right out and tells us in the study that the young athletes that throw 85 or harder before the age of 15 are going to have arm issues when they get older, or they are going to be a strong candidate for Tommy John surgery. We also have to understand the shoulder rotation and the shoulder, the deficits that your shoulder, the wear and tear on these young children's shoulders. You're talking about excessive throwing. You're talking about, you're increasing your risk for injury. We're pushing velocity way too early, and we're not thinking about overuse. Now, here's the deal. When we were younger, we probably played catch more, but we didn't take pitching lessons all the time. We didn't have 60 to 100 game schedules. We didn't play baseball from March and through October or November. We weren't trying to go to these metric showcases and spend money. We knew if we had strong arms, we knew if we could hit a baseball, but what are we trading our time and our resources for with regard to our children? Now, I spent this past weekend at a facility and I just sat and observed. I didn't walk in there with ProLine or Baseball Blue Book. I didn't walk in there with any other baseball logos or anything like that. I was just, in the eyes of the people there, I was probably a grandfather watching my grandson participate. And I actually heard a coach, an instructor, someone in their mid to late 20s talking to a group of athletes about doing running guns. Now, we live in Boston and they're throwing into a net. The temperatures outside do not allow. I mean, they're in the high 40s. But this coach is telling these young boys, to run and gun in March, February, March, and throw as hard as they can into the screen, standing behind the screen with a pocket radar. And I think it's time for us as adults to call a big time out. We need to stop putting the weight of expectation into our children, into our young athletes. The pressure culturally, I get it. Culturally, you as a parent, you look online and you see everybody else is doing it. You watch your neighbors, you see your children's peers, and they're playing on these programs, and they're playing March and April and May, and then they have a little break, and then it's June, July, August, they have a little break, and then it's September, October, November, and then they do lessons, and then they do indoor training. I don't care about your money. Don't care about how much you're paying. I'm talking about the act of trying to chase baseline metrics at 9 through 12, 8 through 12, whatever age we want to talk about. Think about the stress we are putting into our children's minds and on their bodies. This cannot continue at the rate that it is occurring. I want to let parents understand the vast majority of the boys that are playing baseball between 6 and 13 or 6 and 12 will stop playing baseball. Not because of burnout, not because of injury. They just put the game away. It's not something they enjoy. It's too boring. It's too slow. Other sports, other hobbies, other interests, academics, etc. So now when we start to think about why are we so worried and focused about the competitive and the metrics of an 8 through 12-year-old when the vast majority may kind of show up at 13 and 14 and say, hey, mom, dad, I'm out. The psychological discussion that is going on in these young children's minds. What if I let my parents down? What if I let my teammates down? What if I let my coaches down? Because I'm not living up to Johnny runs this and Johnny throws that and Jimmy can do this and Jimmy can do that. Parents, you have to push back. You have to monitor what's going on at practice. You have to monitor what your student athlete is being asked to do. You have to monitor and you have to speak up. That requires you to speak up. Speak up on their behalf. Make sure, and I'm not saying to parents, go call the coach and tell him what he should or should. No. Understand, listen to your children. Ask them, how does your body feel? How do you feel? Are you enjoying this? Is this something you enjoy? Now, for those parents that tell me my son's ultra competitive and he doesn't want to play in a team when everybody else is garbage, and that's their words, not mine, and they need to be able to catch. My son throws really hard. I need somebody that can catch. Most of these kids can't catch. It's youth baseball, not major league youth baseball. Nobody's getting paid. And I got to tell you, what's hurting the sport? Look around. I mean, across the whole country. I had somebody say to me last night on X about it's not $1 billion industry, a $50 billion industry. By the year 2030, it's projected to be a $90 billion a year industry. Youth baseball. Why? Look around. How many baseball academies are opening up? How many post-grad academies are opening up? How many facilities? How many teams are playing year-round? How many lessons are being done? Look at the growth. Look at who is controlling these industries. They want you as parents to think that what your children is doing at 8 through 12 in some way, shape, or form is going to matter who they become when they finally get to that age of 13, 14, and 15. You know, I like baseball and I want to play baseball. And because you are on the Super Platinum Elite Travel Organization, the All-American Elite Platinum team at 9, 10, and 11, that your son is going to be a stud at 14 through 18. It doesn't work that way. It does not work that way. Baseball is hard. All you need to do as a parent is go stand in the box, put a helmet on, grab a bat, and get in the box of some of these people that your children are facing. Do you feel comfortable? Do you feel like this is a safe environment? Children are nervous. Children are listening to adults. There's a lot of pressure. And this whole road to 70 kind of, mantra and message. It's the wrong message we are sending to children. We are telling children they have to be elite, advanced, competitive. From the ages of 7 and 8 through 12 and 13, their bodies are not maturing. Final part to this discussion tonight, before I get into the rest, is parents, I need you to understand athletics are a part of childhood. They are a part. They don't need to consume. We don't need to make children regimented at 8 through 13 or 14. We don't need them to have daily routines, getting up at 6 in the morning and throwing plyo balls against the wall. I've seen it. I've seen boys at these younger age. Plyo balls are very, very dangerous. We wouldn't expect to put a handsaw, a chainsaw, into the hands of a 9 through 12-year-old unless they were A, properly supervised, B, had a firm understanding of the safety of that piece of equipment. But yet we have no problem putting plyo balls and heavy objects into young children's hands, all in the name of velocity in the road to 70 at 9 years of age. Arm injuries, they are climbing. They are an alarming rate. The travel world wants you to believe that you need to be chasing metrics through perfect game to monitor the progression of your student athlete. I used to monitor my two sons' progression on a wall in my kitchen with a pencil over their head. And that told me they were getting taller. And when they got taller, they got bigger. And when they got bigger, they got stronger. And when they got stronger, they got faster. And guess what? Their skill sets would get better. We don't need to try to compact 12 years worth of baseball into 7 to 12 weeks of off season, and then the rest of the year chasing the road to 70. Parents, bad message. I really do not want you to feel like this is a doom and gloom message. You're not missing out on anything. If your son or daughter has other hobbies, you're not missing out on anything if they are only throwing. The average 8 to 12-year-old will throw between 40 and 60 miles an hour. Why? Because most of them are, 4 feet, 5'5", in that range, and most of them weigh between 70 to maybe 120 pounds. And then from the age of 13 through 16, they begin to get taller. They begin to gain more weight. And guess what? The bigger and taller they get, the harder they will throw, but they're still growing internally. The numbers and the metrics are meaningless at 8 through 12 because there's no coach at the high school level or college level, a professional scout, that's going to ask your student athlete, hey, how hard did you throw when you were 12? I have a good friend of mine named Tommy Day. Tommy Day, at 13 years old, threw 90 miles an hour. That's a fact. And by his junior year in high school, the end of his junior year in high school, his arm was toast. Now, he had a great young youth career, won a lot of games, was a tremendously talented athlete. And I'm sure when you look back, and that was during my era. In today's world, I look at that and we are actually encouraging athletes to try and begin to chase 70, 80, 90 miles an hour between the ages of 10 to 16 when their bodies are not ready for that. They're not ready for that. At what age should you focus on velocity enhancement? Velocity enhancement. Without arm health and without arm efficiency, throwing an object for velocity purposes is kind of you're not creating the right foundation. The right foundation is being able to throw a baseball effectively and efficiently to a specific location. Once that is done, as you're growing, as you're hit, if you're serious, if your student athlete is serious, between the ages of, say, 13 through 16, as I've stated many, many times before, strength, conditioning, strength, nutrition, caloric intake, learning the nuances of the body, the lower half, the legs, the core, the back, the spine, the shoulder, the internal, external rotations, the shoulder, the rear heads of the shoulder, the scapula, all of the muscles that not only do the acceleration, but the deceleration, the braking system. I've said this many, many times to parents and families that I've worked with over the years. I can take my Prius that I used to have, and I can put a brand new Corvette, 8-cylinder Corvette engine into my Prius, and I can go out on Route 128 in Boston, and I can hit the gas, and my Prius is going to fly with that new engine. But guess what? The brakes are for a Prius, not a Corvette. So I go to hit the brakes on my Prius with my new Corvette engine, my brake pads are going to shatter. Everything is ultimately is going to shatter and break down. That's what you have to understand. Everybody's so focused on the front, the acceleration. Nobody's talking about, hey, once you get this new toy, this new acceleration, how does my body learn to naturally slow it down? How does my body naturally learn to decelerate it? Again, another emphasis. Football throws. You look around all of college baseball, Major League Baseball, professional baseball, especially during spring training. Everybody's out here throwing a football. Everybody's out here throwing a football. Tom House, notorious, been throwing a football with Nolan Ryan since the late mid-'80s. And the reason for that is the football tells you whether you're throwing the ball efficiently, if you're sequencing your mechanics correctly. If your son can throw a football and throw a spiral and throw it essentially into his targeted area, okay, now you can begin to build. But you need to have that movement screen. That's why people like Eric Cressy and Eric Reinhold and Ben Fairchild and Tommy Moffitt, all of these people are available to help parents. The number one thing that you should do is don't worry about what's going on between the ages of 8 and 13. Let your kids have fun. Let them enjoy the sport. If they're really competitive and they want to play a whole bunch of games, great. There's no pickup game in your area, okay, let them go play baseball. But you know what? If they want to go shoot hoops, they want to go swim, they want to go fish, great. 13 or 14, they come to you and say, I really want to be a good baseball player. Okay, strength training. Understand the body. Understand what it's going to take to fuel your body. And once you get that movement screen and you find out where your student athlete is deficient and where they're strong, and you can balance and blend that out, okay, now you can start to train and prepare for high school. Now, again, I'm going to say this. I've created courses, and this is how many I've sold, because I don't push them. But it's such a simple process. One, prepare your student athlete at 8 to 13 or 14 to have fun. Prepare them to enjoy the fundamentals of the game. Let them have a basic understanding and passion for baseball. At 13 to 16, you need to prepare your student athlete if they have the passion for high school baseball. High school baseball, for 90% of all boys that play baseball after the age of 13, 90% will just play through high school. 90%. You got all these recruiting services and all these people that are telling you can spend all this money, but only 90% are going to play to high school, and then 10% will play at the collegiate level. 10%. And that's across all of college baseball. Parents, we need to do a better job as adults, me included, to getting children to understand, love the game, respect the game, learn the game. Listen to your coaches. Begin to value your high school coaches. Begin to value people that have played the game at the higher levels. Allow them to pass the baton of the sport forward. That's what it's all about. You know, when you see these perfect game, 9 through 12, analytics, metrics, find out how fast, that's a carnival game. It's a carnival game. It's no different than going into a carnival, getting 3 balls and saying, okay, how fast are you going to throw? And then every kid gets up there and does a run and gun and tries to outdo the last 2 throws. Baseball is hard. It's really, really hard. Playing the game at the varsity level in high school, for the vast majority, is the pinnacle of baseball. Pinnacle. To play in college means you are an elite. You paid your dues and you are an elite high school baseball player. Anything beyond that is an absolute minor miracle, I promise you. Now, I'm going to ask in closing, I really am going to ask you, as someone that finds your way to this channel, somebody that is engaged. I need people to like the content, comment, good, bad, indifferent. You don't like me, you do like me. Please share the channel. I am asking you to share if you feel that there's any value in what it is that I do. I don't come on here with fancy B-roll. I don't come on here with words coming across the screen. I don't come on here and juggle. I don't come on here and stand in front of a ballpark and make it look really exciting. It's pretty basic. Me, you, and we talk. Because all of this that comes out tonight is after multiple direct messages from parents that are frustrated, children that are 13 through 18 who send me messages, and then I speak with their parents. That's where this comes from. So first and foremost, if you like the content, please, for the love of baseball, hit the thumbs up. Please subscribe to the channel, comment, engage with the video. Let me know you like it, you don't like it, you have other questions, other topics you'd like me to discuss. Feel free to do so. I truly appreciate all of you that take the time to join me. And I'm going to end on this because somebody in my screen, I have a young man. Now, I've worked with thousands of athletes over the last 35 years. And I'm going to tell you one quick story of one young man that is currently playing college baseball. I have two student athletes, former student athletes, that are now married, children. They are high school coaches. 4 years ago, they happen to be twin brothers. They called me and said, Coach, we have somebody that we would like you to look at. Young man was a pitcher. He was, at the time, 5'10", maybe weighed 150 pounds, maybe. I watched him throw his bullpen. Mom and dad were there. I was asked, he told me, I want to go to Vanderbilt. I want to pitch at Vanderbilt. You know, everybody wants to pitch at Vanderbilt. I get that. And so with the help of my two former student athletes, we created a plan. And this young man was very, very diligent. And I'm going to fast forward to today. Last year, he attended Dayton University. He pitched 70 plus innings as a freshman. This year, he is pitching at Vanderbilt University. Why am I telling you this story? The young man might throw 90 to 91 a couple of times a game. What he did was exactly what I discussed earlier. He learned how to throw effective, efficient. He learned how to decelerate, accelerate. He knows how to locate. And then he learned how to accelerate. My point to you is that young man took a game plan, executed the game plan, and now he's living his dream. His dream. It's attainable. Please do not let people tell you if you don't throw 90, you won't play Division I. If you're not throwing 95, there are exceptions. I understand. But do you want the car to break down when it finally gets on the track in high school? Or do you want the car to just be getting into peak form, ready to perform at the high school levels and beyond? The choice for you as parents is today. It's your call. I want to say thank you to everybody that took the time. I'm sorry. I know this is a man talking to a camera. I don't have all kinds of stuff going on behind me. I don't have anybody engaged in the video. Maybe I'll look forward to editing more of that. But please let me know if you have questions, concerns, comments, good, bad, or indifferent. Let me know. I will answer them. Timmy, I say thank you. The Hawaiian Hammer, I say aloha. Ron, what parameters would you give a 14-year-old as pitch limits? Okay. Dad is going to talk. Ron, when I was a dad, my 14-year-old could only throw his age times 3. That was his total number of innings for a season. At 14 times 3, 42. I would put it in a range of 42 to 50. And that was the total amount of innings that my son pitched at 14. Do not worry about velocity, because velocity at 14, nobody cares. What are we measuring it against? You're measuring it against 14-year-olders. You want health. You want strength. You cannot get strength without health. Ages 12 through 15 or 16 should be doing progressions. We should be doing progression. I don't need to worry about velocity metrics. I need to worry about the 4 quadrants of the strike zone. In, up, out, away. I need to be able to throw location. And once I can throw a location, okay, Ron, last tip I'm going to give you tonight. When you go to bed at night, I know a lot of us have light fixtures now where we just press a button that's on the wall. When I was a kid, it was a switch, and it was up and down, up and down, up and down. And so what you want to have your pitcher learn is, I want to shut the light off over my right shoulder, over my nose, and over my left shoulder. Right shoulder, nose, left shoulder. Throw, 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 throw. If you can teach that light switch to your young pitchers, and you just teaching them fastballs, change-ups, light switches, right shoulder, nose, left shoulder, teaching them to try to be in that doorway and where the ball goes they will learn how to feel that release point. That's going to help your 14-year-old become more effective as a pitcher, more efficient as a pitcher, and they're going to be able to repeat the mechanic. That is the key. Thank you for watching. Appreciate your time. Please comment below. This Thursday, I have University of Minnesota head coach Ty McDevitt. Great young coach, a pitching coach, former pitcher at Minnesota. Going to be a great episode. Tune in, and thank you for joining me tonight.